On a new way to imagine public safety across our city, not only across our city, but some of our most impacted areas in our community. I was born in Austin, but I live in Garfield Park. And what we've seen throughout the years have been a way of doing things that have not given us the best results. So I'm pleased to be here today, along with Mayor Johnson and Gary Gatewood, our Deputy Mayor of Public Safety, to talk about a new way of imagining and how we deal with public safety and how we bring forth resources and opportunities to young people that are in need of those items in order to better their lives. As we talk about public safety, we must also talk about how we can impact not only just the community, but the people. And one of the points that the mayor has continuously talked about is how do we help and invest in people, because without investing in people, there's only so much that law enforcement can do. So again, we're happy to be here today, and again, I want to welcome each of you to Garfield Park and to talk about some of the great things that we're going to continue to do in this community. And without further ado, I want to bring you all the Mayor of the City of Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Alderman Irvin, for that introduction, and thank you for your leadership. I'm really grateful to be here today. It's always a great day, of course, to be on the west side of Chicago. I'm joined today again by Alderman Irvin, our Deputy Mayor of Community Safety, Gary and Gatewood, and the Community Safety Coordination Center's Community Engagement Manager, Greg Matthews. And we're all here today to announce the place-based phase of the People's Plan for Community Safety. A few months ago, we launched the City of Chicago's new collaborative and community-driven approach to building a safer Chicago. My administration understood that the city government cannot resolve community violence and address the root causes that lead to violence alone. Again, we understood that my administration, that the city government alone cannot address the whole of violence alone. So this plan brings together local and state government, community organizations, philanthropists, youth leaders, faith organizations, researchers, and businesses to become co-creators of safety. With this level of greater citywide collaboration, we can begin to focus on a couple of things. The people that are most severely impacted by the cycle of harm, and the places that have been historically disinvested in and are well overdue for revitalization. We know what creates violence in a neighborhood. It's the lack of job opportunities. It's disengagement from school or access to alternate pathways to careers. It's a disengagement from housing, and you have housing instability and, of course, storefront vacancies and other disparities. We know what causes violence. We can remedy those disparities with new programs, with deepened investments. And that work has already begun. For example, we recently launched the city's 2024 One Summer Chicago Jobs Program for youth ages between 14 and 24 across the city to have employment opportunities for the summer. My administration expanded the program with an additional investment from 2024 budget that has created an additional 4,000 jobs for young people. One Summer Chicago requires collaboration between city, business, community to create opportunities. It's exactly the kind of partnership that, as this shared vision that I've put forth, it's exactly what we are employing with the People's Plan for Community Safety. The place-based phase of the plan that we are sharing with you today directly addresses the racial and social economic disparities that contribute to the violence in Inglewood, West Garfield Park, Austin, and Little Village. We strategically selected these 4 communities to start with because it's high time that the city government paid attention to the points of pain in these neighborhoods. We have to pay attention to the points of pain. Homicide victimization in Austin was up nearly 5% in 2023, while the rest of the city was down 12%. The youth unemployment rate in West Garfield Park is nearly 3 times the city's average. The median household income in Inglewood is less than half of the city's average. And almost 40% of Little Village residents do not have a high school diploma. Nearly 1/3 do not have primary care provider. We have decades upon decades of disinvestment and neglect that we have to address, and that's why this plan rests highly on collaboration. It will take all of us to build affordable housing, new grocery stores, health clinics, banks, and other neighborhood assets, and to renew a sense of community and trust to keep us all safer. The most unique component of the People's Plan for Community Safety is the hyper-local approach. And when I say hyper-local, I mean we are looking at the challenges and opportunities for our neighborhoods, literally block by block by block. The 4 neighborhoods that we are first targeting are rich. These are historic neighborhoods. They contribute to Chicago by being, to form what I call the soul of Chicago. We are partnering with community groups in Inglewood who are working to reclaim vacant lots for community use, support returning residents so that we can ultimately invest in these specific communities and their families. The residents of Garfield Park, they fight back against crime and poverty together through block clubs and nonprofit organizations that invest in new ideas that bring growth and vibrancy, like the hatchery. Little Village is one of Chicago's densest communities, which adds to its vibrancy and leaves very few housing or businesses vacant. And finally, Austin is a rich blend of multi-generations and cultural living, working and shopping together. However, Austin is not without problems. Austin needs stronger pathways to employment and more opportunities for small businesses to truly flourish. All in all, there is strength, pride, and community in each of these neighborhoods. And to that end, finally, I'm excited to share that in early April, we will realize a request for proposals to fund organizations working in high-priority communities. By working together with community members and stakeholders across the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois, we will further strengthen and grow the South and West Sides until everyone lives in a better, stronger, safer Chicago. Many administrations have spoken about the West and South Sides of the city of Chicago, but I am continuously leading our city into a much brighter future. So I thank all of the leaders who are standing here today and their commitment to the People's Plan for community safety and ultimately for the people of Chicago. So thank you, and with that, I want to welcome Deputy Mayor of Community Safety, Gary Gatewood, to say a few words.
Good morning. I'd first like to start by thanking Mayor Johnson for joining us today and Alderman Irvin for hosting us here in Garfield Park. As the mayor mentioned, in December, we launched the People's Plan for Community Safety, which lays out our plan to build a safer Chicago for everyone through purposeful, intentional investments to address the root causes of violence. As he mentioned, the People's Plan focuses on the most impacted by violence by using a two-pronged approach, people-based and place-based. The mayor shared some of the beauty and the needs of the 4 communities that we've prioritized in our first waves of implementation: Austin, Inglewood, West Garfield Park, and Little Village. But these communities are not a monolith. Austin needs are not the same as Little Village, and Inglewood's needs is not the same as West Garfield Park. But how we got here and what we've been doing is what I'm really excited about. We work with Alderman Irvin, Alder Coleman, Alder Rodriguez, because who knows their wards better than they do. We also work with community members to help drive our decisions on these particular block groups and assessing the community needs. We chose this approach for several reasons. We knew that hyperlocal layering of investments will increase the effect of funding beyond what an individual investment can do and how we can work together independently. Our hyperlocal approach enables us to shift the atmosphere of the community with wraparound investment and intentional supports. To hone in on these block groups, we assess both qualitative and quantitative data. We used over a dozen different metrics covering everything from the number of fatal and non-fatal shootings to indicators of historical disinvestments like school closures, unemployment rates, and percentages of residents who are severely rent burdened. Then we looked at the strengths of these existing community partnerships so we can look at infrastructure and the resources that were already there. But layering all of these things together paints a stark picture of Chicago. One where it is unsurprising and it's clear how intertwined violence is with the lack of opportunity and disinvestments, and how they disproportionately impact pockets of Chicago. As we prove the effectiveness of this plan, we will grow to work together in phases, continuing to roll out to make every community in Chicago safe. In Austin, we will focus on 2 block groups elected with the Alderman, Jason Irvin, that lie between the West End Avenue and West Adams Street in Laramie and Laverne. In these 2 spaces, the shootings per 1,000 residents between 2020 and 2023 was between 2 times and 4 times the citywide community average. In Inglewood, we'll concentrate on 2 block groups selected along with Alderwoman Stephanie Coleman, stretching from Garfield Boulevard to West 63rd and Racine and Morgan. In this area alone, just above Kennedy King College, it includes a huge number of vacant lots, over 100 in just 1 block group. But this area also has an unemployment rate of 25% compared to the city's unemployment rate of 8%. In Little Village, we're working with Alderman Mike Rodriguez, who's helped us select 2 block groups between 26 and 28 by Kildare and up to Pulaski. While Little Village has been trending in the right direction, this area has been particularly hard hit in recent months with an increased amount of shootings. In West Garfield Park, which has just been particularly hard hit by gun violence in recent years, the block groups that we've selected stretch along the Eisenhower below Madison and from Kenton to Hamlin. These areas have seen a 23% unemployment rate, and in those block groups that we're talking about, over a 3-year span, they've seen over 200 shootings. Last week, our team came down to West Garfield Park, and Alderman Irvin hosted us, where we met with educators, police, street outreach workers, and faith leaders. Our first stop was at Melody Elementary with Principal Tillman, who has a love for this community like no other. We spent time with the Institute for Nonviolence, and then we also spent time on the Madison and Pulaski corridor. We spent time with community leaders, some of which were in this room today, about the challenges they are facing and how we can work together to build safety. We were humbled to hear from the young men enrolled in the My Alpha Redemption Project about how they're working to support each other to break the cycles of harm. Being here in Garfield Park reaffirms the guiding principles that are at the core of the People's Plan for Community Safety. Long-term, layered investments are critical to making sure communities are safe today and for generations to come. As the mayor said, as Alderman Irvin said, and as all of you know, we cannot do this work alone. We will continue to work and collaborate with our partners in the county, state, government, nonprofits, philanthropy, and business. You know, as the mayor mentioned when we launched this plan in December, since then we've been able to put together 18 initiative teams across the city. They've been working to improve 311 response time, increasing partnerships between the Chicago Police Department and our street outreach organizations through professional understandings, working alongside our infrastructure departments, and also thinking about how we activate safe spaces in neighborhoods and build out stronger alternate response models. As the mayor mentioned earlier, we have a funding opportunity for these 4 communities to identify anchor organizations that will work alongside the mayor's office and Mayor Johnson's entire cabinet in efforts to prevent violence and crime in and around our block groups, again in Austin, Inglewood, West Garfield Park, and Little Village. We'll share more information about their request for proposal opportunities as soon as it's available. And now I'd like to turn it over to Greg Matthews, who is the Community Engagement Manager for the CSCC and a humble servant of the West Garfield Park community.
Wow, a press conference. Okay, we can do this. How's everybody doing? Good morning. As I was already introduced, my name is Greg Matthews. I am, again, I'll use that word, humble. Humbled to be here in front of everybody. I am the Community Engagement Manager for Garfield Park. I have the honor of being the bridge between the community and the city of Chicago. So honored is something that I don't take that word very lightly. My parents met in this community. My parents went to Westinghouse. They are the reason that I'm standing here today. My grandparents are from Mississippi. They migrated to this community, and it is very important for anyone who's truly from the west side of Chicago to understand that even though I represent West Garfield Park, if you're from the west side, you're from the west side. You from out west, you from out west. And Garfield Park is Garfield Park. We differentiate it as east and west, but it's very important for members of the community to help other people understand this is our community. It belongs to us, we call it what we call it, and we understand the premise behind why things are the way they are, but it's extremely important to us in the community that people understand that we are here and we're not going anywhere. The disenfranchisement that has happened in Garfield Park and what I see on a daily basis in my role is heartbreaking. It is something that everyone in this room agrees is heartbreaking. But I believe that the good residents of Garfield Park and some of the people who were mentioned earlier, some of the hardworking stakeholders in this community that I'm looking at right now, who I hold as mentors and as people who I hold very dear to my heart, it's very important for us to understand that we are still here, good people, and we want to work ourselves to correct the issues that we see in the community. These issues that the mayor so eloquently spoke about would be, first of all, the financial disenfranchisement that we have dealt with in this community and the other communities that the city has focused on. But specifically here in Garfield Park, we are talking about a non-investment in our community. Specifically, the corridor in Madison and Pulaski. Since the King riots, these areas have been destroyed and never invested in again. And I am proud to say that I am part of a change and energy that is happening right now in our community. And it is spurred by the last administration, but built on by this administration. They didn't take down everything that we had already built. They took the studs that are already there and they built on them. And they did an excellent job of it. So far, how are we addressing these issues? What are we doing about it? We know, specifically us community members, we know how challenging it is for us to deal with the young men who are in our community who are doing entrepreneurial work that we don't agree with. We're not aggressively going after those young men to arrest them any longer. With the support of this administration, they are putting us in charge of actually putting together programming where we can go help them change their bag. Give them things that they can actually invest in themselves so they no longer have to do the entrepreneurship that they're currently doing. Is that going to happen overnight? No. Which is why we are so encouraged by the consistency that we've seen in this administration. Nothing's perfect. We are not saying that at all. But our vision for Garfield Park is so much more so encouraged by this administration and things that they have been giving us. We're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do. We have so many things that we want to work on, that we want to bring out to the community, that we want to talk about. But our block club associations, our organizations that are in, our non-for-profit organizations that are in this community, like Breakthrough, like My Alpha Redemption Project, like the organizations that help run this very park, the GPCC, the GPAC. These are organizations that we support here in Garfield Park, and we really, really, really want to encourage everyone else to get involved. If you are here in the community and you see what's happening, you see that we're trying to get things in a positive note, we really want to get you involved in the Garfield Park Right to Wellness Collaborative and the other organizations that are helping to enrich and encourage this community. Thank you, guys. I bring back up Gary Gatewood.
Really quickly, thank you, Greg, and thank you for all the community members who came out today to join us. Building a safer Chicago will take all of us. Working together to build that community starts in these neighborhoods that have been disinvested and ignored. We look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you. We're going to turn it back over to the mayor because we'll do a press gaggle over to the side, but we really appreciate folks for being here and building it in. So you want us to go and take it over there now? All right, cool. Thank you all.